Hey guys, in this week's episode we are talking Dune. But before we do that, we're going to be talking about the last Daniel Craig Bond film, No Time to Die. So, join us!
Welcome to the Casual Cinecast, powered by Cinelinx. My name is Chris, and with me as always is Mike, who accidentally watched Tremors instead of Dune. They both have giant worms. That's okay. I'm sure we can find like a bridge between those two movies and talk about them. How are you doing today, Mike?
Oh crap, I just realized I watched the wrong movie. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's okay, because Tremors is awesome.
It is awesome. Also with
you might
us...
have had a more fun time.
Also with us, you just heard him, Justin. He just got done mining for spice. That's his second job. How are you doing today, Justin?
Good. Hearing a lot of things, seeing a lot of things. Don't know if they're real. Don't know if they're fake. But I'm trying my best to sort them out. So
it's a way to live
we'll see
life.
how this goes.
All right.
This is no spice dream. That's what Boba Fett says in Mandalorian Season 2. Because George Lucas stole spice, the idea of spice from Dune.
Sure
yeah,
did.
I think he stole a couple of things.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, he stole a lot of things from Dune, as it turns out. All right, if this is your first time listening, normally we like to start off every episode in a section called News on the March, where we talk about film and TV news, or usually just the TV and film that we have been watching. Then we move into our feature review, and as I said at the top of the show, this week we're talking Dune.
That's right. And also here on the Casual Cinecast, every other week, or just about every other week, depending on what else is going on in the movie world, we put out a Casually Criterion episode. In those episodes, listeners choose a Criterion collection film for us to review by voting in the poll that we put out on our Twitter account. So look forward to our next Criterion poll. Also check out our history and our podcast feed. There's a lot of Criterion stuff on there. Our latest episode was The Night of the Hunter. And there's a whole lot more. But as I said, we have a poll out, and we have the results from our latest poll. So, Mike, tell people what the poll was and what films were available and what won.
Sure. So our most recent Criterion poll was the theme Second Chances, which is where each of us choose a film that we have seen before and maybe it didn't click with us the first time, and we wanted to give it another shot. So... the results were, or the choices were, I should say, Bull Durham, which was chosen by me, Cronenberg's Crash, not the Best Picture winner Crash, Cronenberg's Crash, chosen by Chris, I believe, and then La Dolce Vita, the Fellini film, which was chosen by Justin, and an overwhelming win. I did not expect this, to be honest with you. Bull Durham won with 47.4%.
Mm-hmm.
Followed by Crash with 31.6%, and then La Dolce Vita, 21.1%. I would not have guessed that La Dolce Vita would have less than Crash, to be honest with you. I didn't realize there was so much love for Cronenberg's Crash.
Or Bull Durham.
My theory is that people are angry that I picked La Dolce Vita because it's such a classic, revered film, you know?
Yeah, so they're like, fuck off, Justin.
Yeah, what a stupid choice for Second Chances. I will not vote for that.
Yeah, maybe.
And my other theory is that baseball is boring, and everyone's like, yeah, Bull Durham sucks. Let's hear people talk about that. But not really. I don't think people feel that way. I think Bull Durham's pretty well liked.
Yeah, I was about to say, I was like, I don't know. I remember whenever I was a kid, everyone who knew of Bull Durham always talked about how good it was. And then when I watched it, I was like, are they crazy? But now we'll see. Now I'm a grown man. We'll see if I like it better.
My real theory is that the World Series is starting this week. So baseball's hot right now.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
See, I'm so out of the loop. I didn't even know that.
I only know because the Houston Astros are in the World Series.
Wow.
So
for
can't
cheating.
avoid it.
The World Series of cheating, right?
I don't know about this year. I mean, they could be. It took them like 2 years to find out they cheated in the last one.
Yeah. What a bunch of stand-up guys. Anyway.
You don't want to talk about baseball anymore?
No, I'm bored.
Okay, cool. Well, moving on. As we said, The poll for the Criterion films are on our Twitter account, which is @CasualCinecast. We're also on Facebook and Instagram at Casual Cinecast if you want to follow us there, but the best place to follow us is our Twitter. If you want to send us any messages, movie suggestions, questions about the movies we're reviewing, send messages to any of those social media accounts or to casualcinemedia@gmail.com. And then, of course, if you haven't done so already, you like the show, you want to help other people find it, go on to iTunes or whatever platform you listen to podcasts on. Give us a 5-star review and follow us, subscribe us if you haven't already. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. All right. And now I guess we should move into news on the march.
Yeah, let's go.
News on the march.
Okay, so here we are in News on the March. We really only have one thing to discuss today, and we haven't discussed it to this point because not all of us had seen it, but now we all have. But that is the most recent James Bond film, No Time to Die. So, Mike, do you want to kick us off with your thoughts?
Sure. Yeah, sure. I actually saw this a couple weeks ago, but we were, like you said, waiting on everyone to kind of watch it before we discussed it on the podcast. And plus, last week there was no shortage of things to talk about. So really, we couldn't have squeezed it in if we had wanted to. But anyways, yeah. The Daniel Craig era Bond films have been a mixed bag, I'd say. I really, really like Casino Royale. Just even if you're not a Bond fan, I think Casino Royale is like a really well-made, well-shot, energetic action movie that's just a blast. Then Quantum of Solace happened during the writer's strike, so notoriously that one's kind of whatever. I really like Skyfall, and then I did not like Spectre at all. I thought Spectre was a step in the wrong direction. So I was kind of worried about No Time to Die, because No Time to Die is pretty much like a continuation of Spectre. But luckily, I really enjoyed this as a Bond, like, send-off for Daniel Craig's Bond. It kind of makes me look at Spectre in a better light in retrospect. Though I haven't watched it again, so I don't know if it would make it good. But it makes me more accepting of how that movie kind of went. And I guess we'll try to be vague on spoilers here, because we are in News on the March. But overall, I would say that it's a fitting end for Daniel Craig, and I think it kind of continues the tradition of every other Daniel Craig movie being good, in my opinion.
Yep.
Or Daniel Craig Bond movie specifically. And I would say that Daniel Craig probably, besides maybe Connery, has the strongest run of Bond movies as a whole. I don't know if that's controversial or not, but I'm putting it out there now. I think that he certainly has a better run than Pierce Brosnan did.
Yeah. I honestly couldn't say, because I haven't seen that many Bond films. And I don't know if I've seen anyone other than Daniel Craig's like entire Bond film collection.
Yeah. I only liked GoldenEye out of the Pierce run. But anyway, No Time to Die. I would say that this movie is kind of weirdly paced. Not a whole lot of action for a Bond movie, but I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I would be interested to know specifically what Phoebe Waller-Bridge contributed to the screenplay. I interrupted somebody. Someone was going to say something.
Yeah, I was going to say that I think maybe the lady who was walking out behind me when I saw it this weekend might have felt differently from you about the pacing, because I literally heard her say that you could have just started the movie after the first hour. She's like, yeah, we don't need that first hour. Get it out of there.
Well, the first hour is kind of mopping up what Spectre did.
Yeah. I don't agree with her, by the way, but
yeah. Okay.
That's just what I heard.
Those are my initial thoughts. Justin, you just saw it. And someone who's probably the least familiar with the Bond franchise, I would wager on this podcast. I don't know about Chris, but I'm making an assumption there. What do you think of No Time to Die?
Sure. Chris, do you want to answer his claim really quickly?
Yeah.
How are you on Bond?
We may be equal. I'm not a big Bond head.
Okay.
So I think we may be equal. I may have seen more. It just depends. We'd have to compare notes.
Yeah. What I will say is it probably isn't that difficult of a task to have seen more Bond films than me. So you're probably right. That said, I have seen all the Daniel Craig Bonds. I pretty much feel the way that Mike said about him. The only maybe difference I would say is that I don't think there are any Bond films that I consider to be great films or that I love. So for me, it's kind of like, well, it's really good for a Bond film. You know what I mean? And I don't necessarily mean that in a derogatory way. It's just they never totally wow me, you know? Like, I don't think I've given any Bond film over a 4 out of 5 star rating, you know, but some have had 4 out of 5, which to me is that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's a solid movie.
Yeah. So this one, I think I enjoyed it more than I remember enjoying Spectre. I kind of felt the same way that I did about Skyfall when I walked out of that. And that said, after I walked out of Skyfall and was like, hey, that was, you know, I enjoyed it. That was pretty decent. And turns out everybody loves that movie. So grain of salt there, you know? Like, if I thought it was pretty good and everyone thinks Skyfall's great, then maybe I think this one's pretty good. Maybe it is, like, really great, you know? I certainly think that there's a lot of satisfaction to the way that this one wraps up this series of Daniel Craig Bonds. And that's maybe my favorite thing about it, is how well it ties a ribbon around all of it and makes it feel okay to move on. Yeah.
It ends in a way to where, like, the next Bond is going to be its own continuity. Because, like, beforehand, the Bonds were kind of messy in the sense that, like, are these a continuation? Is this all supposed to be the same guy? Like, just with different actors? Or, like, what's going on here? But
yeah.
The way the Craig movies go, it very much feels like its own timeline, separate from all the other Bond movies.
Yeah. But, you know, I enjoyed it. I think good action. I think the villains are kind of just okay, you know? Nothing special to me. I don't think it's a spoiler to talk about Rami Malek being in the movie, right? We all know.
No, yeah, you can talk about it.
Yeah, okay. I think he is like cut and paste, like Control C, Control V Bond villain to me.
Yep.
And that's maybe my biggest like complaint about the movie. Otherwise, I think, you know, there's some pretty good action. There's some, you know, attractive people and attractive Bond women, attractive people, guys in suits and that sort of thing, you know, as you want from a Bond movie. There's some, you know,
Are you an Ana de Armas man or a Leia Seydoux man?
Leia Seydoux.
Yeah, I agree with that. What about you, Chris?
Oh, I liked Ana de Armas's
sequence.
Who
doesn't?
For sure. And I thought, and I liked what they did with her as like a quote unquote Bond girl. Like it was kind of interesting. I think that they were kind of trying to comment on what a Bond girl is now, you know, like it was interesting. But I wish there was more of Ana de Armas actually, instead of the other girl. But there's more stuff emotionally attached to that other girl, I think.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a fun movie. It's a good wrap up. That's kind of where I'll leave it. Chris?
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of on the same board with you guys. There are elements of this movie I really like, and elements that did not please me as much. The opening, like, action sequence is really awesome.
It was almost like an opening horror sequence.
Yeah. Well, that one, and then I'm also talking about the home invasion sequence. Yes, but I was talking about the opening Bond action sequence. You know, where they blow up her tomb or whatever. Yeah. I think I may like Skyfall and Casino Royale more than Justin. I think maybe, I don't know, but what I would say is I kind of wish that they had spent a little bit more time with the villain. I agree wholeheartedly with you that he's cut and paste, and maybe if they had to spend a little bit more time and like gave him a couple of more scenes, things would have made more sense.
His plan didn't really make a whole lot of sense to me.
A lot of the stuff about the movie didn't necessarily make a lot of sense, and it doesn't necessarily have to. You're just like, oh, this is a cool action sequence. But I hope when I go see a Bond movie, I hope for a little bit more than that. You know, I hope for Casino Royale or Skyfall, where like there's more than just action, like
Dude, Casino Royale, like what I'm hearing from this conversation is that Justin needs to watch Casino Royale again.
yeah.
I
And
like
Skyfall.
it. That's the one that I would give 4 out of 5 stars to.
Okay. All right. That's good.
If that makes you feel better. I think almost every other one that I've seen, with maybe the exception of Dr. No, I guess. Is that the first one?
Yeah, that's the first one.
Yeah. That one's probably in the 4 out of 5 range. Although the rest are all below that, including Skyfall.
Maybe he needs to watch Skyfall again.
Yeah, so maybe that's the one I gotta watch again.
Yeah, maybe.
I will say I really liked like the last 30, 45 minutes of this movie. I had a, even though, and that's where Rami Malek is most prominent, right? And he's cut and paste, but like I really enjoyed the last sequence, and I felt emotional a little bit about the ending. But I wish they kind of had to spread that out more, and I think they spent so much time trying to rectify the wrongs of Spectre that what this movie could have been was lessened, as opposed to making Spectre better. Like maybe it made Spectre a little bit better, but I also think it dragged down this movie a little bit. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, no, I hear you, but I'm also wondering that, like, if you were to watch these movies back to back, and you, like, when Spectre ended, I knew that the story would continue. I wonder if I would feel differently about Spectre. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's hard to know, but I hear what you're saying. But as far as the highlights of this movie goes, there's also one really, really badass action sequence where they are like in the woods, like in the jungle.
Yeah,
not really the jungle, but like in a forest.
Oh yeah,
and it's really misty and stuff. There's some really cool like car sequences and stunts and stuff that take place there, which was like really, really fun, I think.
Yeah,
based on my enjoyment.
Go ahead. There was like a tweet, that's the term, a tweet that I saw that was comparing shots in that sequence to some of the shots from Tarkovsky's films, and how you could like see the clear influence. And that section of the movie, to me, even though I don't think I'd seen that tweet before I saw the movie, but that section to me, I was like, this is really pretty. This all looks really good.
Well, the whole movie, I think, is beautifully shot. Cary Fukunaga is the director, and I really enjoy that guy's sensibilities. I think he's a really good director.
Yeah, I think the forest kind of sticks out the most to me, but I think it's a little bit more exceptional than the rest of it. But I agree that generally speaking, the rest of it looks really good too.
And they have that.
Well, there's a long take.
Yeah.
That in the final action sequence, I don't want to get too specific, but there's a long take going up some stairs.
Yeah.
It was very True Detective season 1 feeling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I noticed that one. That one was fun.
Bond is at his best when he's playing Home Alone and setting up traps. Like if Skyfall and the tree sequence, the forest sequence in this movie say anything, maybe in my head canon, Bond is Kevin McAllister, just grown up.
Yeah. And British.
Yeah, British.
That story made like the papers, and the MI6 was like, we need him.
Yeah, that's our man.
We got to get him. Even though Bond existed before McAllister, but maybe not the Daniel Craig Bond, I guess.
Home Alone's just a prequel.
Well, I mean, Daniel Craig is the first blonde Bond.
Oh, wow.
James Blonde.
James Blonde.
A question unrelated to the action or cool stuff that happened like in the story and all of that, but I feel like the opening song by Billie Eilish is really good.
I agree. I think it's the best one since the Adele one in Skyfall.
Yeah. Which, to be fair, there's only been 2 since then.
Yeah, but the last one I thought was pretty
exceptionally
unforgettable
bad, right?
Because I forgot about it.
Yeah. Well, I think slowly but surely I might be becoming a Billie Eilish fan, and this has helped, It's like probably like the 3rd song of hers that I've been like, okay, this is actually pretty dang good. And I wasn't a huge fan before.
This might be the only Billie Eilish song I've heard, except for the chorus of that one song that she got popular for.
Bad Guys?
The name escapes me. Yeah, that one.
Yeah. I'm not as big a fan of that one. Remind me later, I'll send you a song. I have to ask my wife what the name of the song is, though, but she played a song by her the other day, and I thought, this is surprisingly really good.
I don't know the name of it. All right, cool.
Quick side
Convert
note,
me.
side trip on Billie Eilish. I was watching like some sort of YouTube video, and I knew who Billie Eilish was as music. And Rainn Wilson like goes to this person's house and is like asking him all sorts of questions about The Office. And I was like, oh man, this girl knows a lot about The Office. Turns out that girl was Billie Eilish, and I just didn't know who Billie Eilish was at the time.
I've seen that video. They ask her really obscure Office stuff.
Yeah.
And she knows every single answer.
Dude, she's of that generation that grew up on The Office.
That's true.
Yeah. Anyways,
That's true.
I was
She's
just...
also really into horror films. So like there was some video or interview or something I saw where she was listing off her favorite horror films, and everyone she listed, I was like, okay, that's good. I haven't seen that, but I've heard it's real good. And that one's good too. So there you go.
All right.
That's
this
your Billie
concludes our
Eilish
section
hour.
on Billie Eilish. Yeah.
We'll have to do another segment next week after I send you that song link, Mike.
Okay.
Just really dive into that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, do we have anything else we want to say about No Time to Die?
Not without spoiling it. I don't think I could say much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. So I guess let's move on and talk about the main event.
Yeah, let's go. Dune
All right.
time.
Dune.
There's something happening to me. There's something awakening in my mind. I can't control it.
What did you see?
There's a crusade coming.
Do you often dream things that happen just as you dreamed them?
Yes.
The test is simple. Remove your hand from the box, and you die.
What's in the box?
Pain. You inherit too much power. You have proven you can rule yourself. Now you must learn to rule others. Something none of your ancestors learned.
My father rules an entire planet.
He's losing it.
He's getting a richer one.
He'll lose that one too. Arrakis is a death trap.
I'll kill him. This is an extermination. They're picking my family off one by one.
Let's fight like demons.
An animal caught in a trap will gnaw off its own leg to escape. What will you do?
I know you.
Okay, so as always with our newer films, we will be doing a spoiler-free section up front. We'll be talking about our general thoughts without giving away a lot of spoilers, or any spoilers really, for that matter, or any major plot details. So if you haven't seen Dune yet, you can keep listening, find out what we think about the movie, find out if you want to go see it. And if you do, pause the podcast, go watch Dune, come back, finish listening.
Indeed. Okay, so Dune was directed by Denis Villeneuve. It stars Timothée Chalamet, Rebecca Ferguson, Oscar Isaac, Josh Brolin, Stellan Skarsgård, Dave Bautista, Zendaya, Jason Momoa, and Javier Bardem. Good Lord.
Yeah,
I was curious if you were going to read all of them. I put them all on
You
there.
put them all on there.
You said it best a couple of weeks ago when you said starring everyone.
Yeah, for real.
Starring
The
everyone
IMDb
attractive.
synopsis. Oh, what?
Starring everyone who's attractive.
Yeah, that's
Well,
true.
well, there are more attractive people out there, but everyone in the movie is attractive.
That's true. Except for Stellan Skarsgård in the movie, maybe.
Some people have different types, you know?
That's true. All shapes and sizes. Okay. The IMDb synopsis says, feature adaptation of Frank Herbert's science fiction novel about the son of a noble family entrusted with the protection of the most valuable asset and most vital element in the galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
Not super accurate. Part of the first half, I think, is probably more accurate than the second half, because it is the feature adaptation of Frank Herbert's science fiction novel.
I didn't know that
I
till
would
just
love
now.
Yeah, I would love if that was just the synopsis.
Yeah. Just end it there. Okay.
Yeah.
So, who wants to kick us off? on... Well, actually, let me ask you guys. Have either of you read Dune?
No.
I have not.
Okay, me neither. Have any of you seen the David Lynch Dune?
No.
I have, but it's been so
You have.
long that I don't remember anything. I can
Awesome,
watch Dune
okay.
again and not like recall any of the plot elements.
Oh, okay. All right, well. As you can see, everyone, we're all experts on Dune.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll just go ahead and pick Justin. Why don't you kick us off? What did you think of Dune? Well, I think you're the most excited for it, I believe.
Yeah, probably so. I
You're
was
a
really
big science
excited.
fiction buff.
Yeah. I read a lot of sci-fi, watch like any sci-fi TV show that looks good and some that don't. So yeah, I was really excited. I was actually waiting to read the book. I've had it for like a while, and right around the time I was getting ready to read it, then this Dune movie was announced, and I thought, well, I'll see the movie first. That way I can watch this movie because, you know, Denis Villeneuve is a director that I like. At least I really like Blade Runner 2049 and Arrival a lot. I haven't seen a bunch of the other stuff. So I was very excited about the movie in general just because it's him, like regardless of what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't really want to like color that by reading the book. So I've been waiting to read it. And yeah, so
Now when you read it, you can picture Timothée Chalamet doing his thing.
that's true. Now I have pictures in my head, which is kind of nice. I don't know.
It helped when I read the Game of Thrones books. I watched like season 1 and 2, and then I was like, I gotta read these. And it helped kind of put, like, you know, visuals to the very dense wording.
Yeah. Not to sidetrack us too much, but I just started reading The Shining, and it helps to just picture Jack Nicholson.
And Shelley Duvall.
Mm-hmm. Anyways, Dune, I was really excited about it. And yeah, so I went back to the theaters to see it, and that was actually my first foray back to the theaters since before COVID. So a fun and big spectacle to like kick that back off, you know. So it was
Sweet.
very exciting. And overall, I mean, I think this movie is really good for being like the first half of a story, you know. I want to kind of caveat that, you know, it's really difficult to me to like fully assess this movie because it's so clearly half of a whole. And I don't necessarily want to bring that up as like a criticism or anything of the film, because I don't think it's a criticism. I think it's just a fact.
I think
you know?
the best way to look at it, or the only way that I can like wrap my head around it, is it's like we watched the first part of Lawrence of Arabia before it goes to the intermission, and we just haven't seen the second half of Lawrence of Arabia. I think that's the best way to look at it.
Yeah.
The second
exactly.
DVD is scratched, and we can't watch it yet.
Yeah.
We have to wait
And
for
it's going to take a couple years to get the other half.
the second half of the movie.
Yeah. But anyways, that said, so far so good. I really enjoyed this a lot. I mean, Denis Villeneuve, he nails tone, and I think the tone of this is really great. Some stuff that could feel silly doesn't really feel silly. Like a lot of this stuff has, I think, more weight than it could in other hands.
For sure.
And I think it's really beautiful. I think it's a great movie to look at, but also in a bit of an understated way. You know, I think Blade Runner was this film that you're just kind of constantly in awe of everything that you're seeing.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't necessarily feel that. Like the cinematography in this doesn't punch me in the face and say like, hey, look at me. Look how pretty I am.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's very pretty overall in a really understated way. All the performances are good. I think from what I understand, Dune is a pretty dense novel. And I think that they did a pretty good job of making this really easy to follow.
Yeah.
And understand. And yeah, I don't know. I left being really hyped for the second one and simultaneously really sad that it's so far away. And at the time that it left the theater wasn't even a guarantee. But since then, actually earlier today, it's been announced that it's definitely happening, part 2. So yeah, this basically just got me really hyped to see the second half and left me wanting more for sure. And that's a good thing for me. So yeah, I don't really have anything specific to call out. I'm sure we'll get into that in spoilers, but I'll leave it there. So Chris, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, very similar to yours. It's hard to wrap my head around like what this movie is without having the second half of it. It feels very much more like a half than even like, we have all these sequels and stuff like that, like the Infinity War saga. Both those movies could be a movie just unto themselves. Like this one is definitely, it feels like a story split in two is how it feels. And I don't, like you said, I don't necessarily want to judge it on that because there's a second half coming, especially after the announcement today, and possibly a third one, from my understanding that he wants to maybe do a third one as well.
Okay.
So, and I think they're doing a Bene Gesserit, like a prequel TV show.
They're going to go straight into this whole Dune cinematic universe, it seems like.
I mean, there's enough like books and stuff to
bring it on.
Yeah, dive into. From three guys that watch The Foundation, and I particularly enjoy it. I like that sci-fi stuff, and I'm, and that kind of speaks to Dune too. And I think the one thing that I would say, I'm totally into it. I like it. I like weird words that mean something, and I like only slowly like learn what they mean and stuff like that, and like how the world building of this show. But I do think if you're going into this movie and like you don't buy into the world within like the first 5 to 10 minutes, it could look really silly. There's people floating around, like for no real reason that we know of, or like weird hats and stuff like that. It's kind of like if you don't buy into Star Wars, there's just a walking, fuzzball or whatever, and I think the same thing applies here, but I think he does a really great job of, I watched the first hour again last night at home, and he does a really great job of disseminating information quickly and concisely in a way that you understand it. Like Justin was saying, he does a really great job of like getting you into the world real quick so that you can understand what's going on and know who's who. I think a second watch can also like increase and make that understanding deeper. And I think that's a sign of a good movie as well. I just. It's really hard to like review, like understand it without that second half. I think my rating or feeling about this movie can completely change by the second or third movies, or how many ever there are going to be. But really, that second one I think is going to, if it's really bad, I don't think that my appreciation of this movie is going to increase, or I think it might very well decrease, So anyways, that's kind of what I think, and, we'll go over more stuff. But Mike, before we dive deeper, what are your initial thoughts?
Well, I'm not too far off from you guys. This was a film that I was looking forward to, but it kind of snuck up on me. I still thought it was like months away. I'm just so used to like the pandemic pushing things inevitably that a bunch of things just snuck up on me like all at once. So I was able to sort of not get that excited before the movie came out. And then when I finally sat down to watch it, it was a pleasant surprise. I watched it on HBO Max because I wasn't going to get to the theater before we recorded this episode, but I'm actually going to go see it again tonight when we get done recording. So I am looking forward to seeing it again. Like you guys said, or specifically Chris, Denis Villeneuve is really good at world building here. And I think he said it best when he said, this is like Star Wars for grown-ups.
Yeah.
And I feel that. As someone who really likes Star Wars, I really like what he's doing in this first 2.5 hours of however many hours of Dune we're going to get,
Star Wars
as
meets
of now, I'm
Games of
completely
Thrones.
on board. I hear the books get pretty weird, so I don't know how far like they can push this. But as long as they can, wrap up part 2 of Dune and it still feels just as good as this, then I think they'll be off on making an exceptional franchise. Like you guys said, it is kind of hard to know how good this movie is until the story's completed. Because it doesn't feel like, there was an arc, there was a story to this, there is an end point, and I'm like, yeah, that would work, but you need more scenes to make it feel like the end of a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Some more a thesis at the end or whatever. And there's none of that, right? It's just a one big tease for what's next, and then we have to wait 2 years to get it. So if I had a complaint, it would be that, yeah, maybe they should have added a little bit more in there to make it feel like a movie in and of itself, but they don't even try to do that. At the very beginning of the movie, it says Dune Part 1.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a really fantastic Part 1, and I really enjoyed it. But I am kind of nervous now that I'm going to be let down by Part 2, if that makes sense, because it's so easy to not be better than this. Most movies aren't. At least most new science fiction movies with this kind of budget. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I would say most of Denis Villeneuve's movies are better than this. So that gives me high hopes. And I really like Dune.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I would say it's kind of apples and oranges because those are all
they're very different.
Complete stories. But I've never seen a bad Denis Villeneuve movie. So I don't know. Yeah. I'm sure Part 2 will be good. I just hope that it will be as good as this. And that way the whole story will be, satisfying from beginning to end. But yeah, I guess it's hard to get too much more into specifics. I think the cast is great. I think Josh Brolin's a lot of fun. Jason Momoa gets to be not so serious, and he gets to kind of just play a character like that feels like him.
Yeah. But it's
which
fun,
is
and he's
completely
very
different than everyone else in this movie, who's like all stoic and serious, and then Jason Momoa's like, my boy. Like, I don't know. I mean, it's fun. It works. I like it.
He feels a bit like an odd...
are fun. What?
I say he feels a bit like an odd duck, because to me, someone mentioned Star Wars earlier, but like this film was like Star Wars if it wasn't fun at all. If there was like no fun about it.
Yeah, there's no lighthearted banter.
Yeah. And Jason Momoa kind of at times butts up against that description of the movie, but to me it fell a little flat in comparison to the rest of the movie. And was like, I don't know if you needed that. I get what you're trying to do.
This is what the prequels...
I feel like...
The prequel
I feel
Star
like it's
Wars
appreciated What, Chris?
Sorry, man. This is what the prequel Star Wars was trying to be, because, it's all about the politics of stuff, and the Senate and stuff like that. It just wasn't as good as this.
No, it wasn't.
It was?
Accurate.
Yeah.
It was not.
I think Jason Momoa worked for me. I think... Because I don't know, okay. I could have used a little bit more personality in some of the characters if I had one complaint. I don't think Timothée Chalamet is the most charismatic guy.
No, but he certainly fits the bill of like the reluctant, not as cool, maybe not up for the job son of Oscar Isaac. You know what I mean? Like he carries himself in a way that like, I totally get why he's not sure if he could do this, because I'm not sure that he could do this. Look at him.
Yeah, no, he looks like he'd fall over.
Yeah. It's like a sandstorm that could go through steel would just carry him off into the sunset or something.
He is really tiny. I'm worried about him.
I read a tweet. I don't know who it was by, so I'm just going to say I attribute this to a random tweet, but Timothée Chalamet seems like the name of a cartoon character mouse. Oh
yeah, like a rich mouse?
Yeah.
Like a wealthy mouse, I think is what I saw that tweet too.
Yeah, but anyways, he's good. He's just, I think a little bit more, like I think Josh Brolin and Jason Momoa add a little bit of levity, even though Josh Brolin does it in that really stern Josh Brolin way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that... go ahead, sorry.
No, that's it. Go ahead.
Like this kind of role, like the Messiah, chosen one role, isn't the most flashy, and you're also... You always kind of... Those actors get called out. It's everything around those actors, like when they're playing a role like this, that is awesome to watch. But a lot of times, that actor has to be a little bit more flat, like...
Sure, he's the Jon Snow.
Yeah, exactly. Like...
Yeah.
So it's kind of a thankless role, but yeah, I agree with you. I like everything around Timothée Chalamet a lot more than I like Timothée Chalamet, but I think that's just part of the package deal.
Yeah, there's so much internal struggle with a character like that. There's so much going on internally, and I think he's really good at that, actually.
Yeah, no, he's good.
Where he shines, but he doesn't necessarily have charisma as a character.
He doesn't need it. Yeah. You got a great cast around him providing all that for him. Like, I think Zendaya's got a lot of charisma, not in this movie, but the actress herself and other things has a lot of charisma. So I'll be interested when part 2 comes out, when we get to see more of her.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I think
I'll just kind of wrap up my initial spoiler-free thoughts by just saying more Rebecca Ferguson, please.
Yeah, and
that's
everything.
literally, I was about to say, I think Rebecca Ferguson kind of carries this movie a lot.
Yes.
For me.
Her and her Oscar
She's
Isaac.
really great. Oscar Isaac too, but he's a little more stoic and he has his own type of charisma, but I think just Rebecca Ferguson has a lot more to do.
She's got
Other
the
than
most
be
interesting
stoic.
role in part 1, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And, we mentioned this earlier and it was kind of a joking way, but I really think there's, someone for everybody to look at in this movie. Like not only is it a good looking movie, but just I feel like all of the cast is good looking in their own way. Like almost every single person.
Yeah. You
With,
got
like,
Dave
one
Bautista
exception.
for the people who don't like eyebrows.
Yep. Exactly. if you're into alopecia.
Yep.
Hey.
He's your guy.
Hey, there you go. So it's just like, I don't know. It's just a really pretty movie. A lot of handsome people doing stuff, and that helps keep it interesting when it could get, I don't want to say it could get dull because it's not dull, but like, it is a lot of like political talking and discussion.
Yeah, it is a notoriously boring book. Even stated by people who are like fans of the book, I think they can admit that there are parts of it that are boring. And I've never read it, but that's just what I hear everyone say. So,
Well, it's a lot of political intrigue, from my understanding. It's a lot like Game of Thrones, I think, in that way. There's different houses and vying for political power and stuff like that.
yeah, I believe I described it as to my dad as it's Game of Thrones meets Star Wars.
I said that earlier in the podcast. It's on this recording.
He did.
Well, I said it last night to my dad.
Oh, your dad called me and told me to say it.
Oh, damn it.
Probably someone said it many years ago when Game of Thrones was relevant and popular and
Probably
part
so.
of culture.
So,
Yeah.
real quick, 2 questions.
They probably said it in the pitch to make this movie, actually.
Yeah, that's
That
probably
was the way to
true.
do
It was
it.
probably like,
Villeneuve.
all right, it's Star Wars meets Game of Thrones, everyone.
All right, 2
I'm
questions. What did you guys think about the special effects? Because I thought that they were really excellent. They felt tactile in this world and solid. What did you guys think?
Yeah.
There's one bad one
What was
Oh?
that stuck out to me, but the rest looks great.
it? Yeah.
Can you say it in non-spoilers?
Yeah, I think so. There's a scene, there's a battle scene, and they're in like suits and helmets, and then the face mask of the helmet comes up, and Timothée Chalamet's face is in it, but it's clearly CG'd in there.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I don't remember that. But yeah,
that looks weird.
Looked a little wonky. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And then the second question would be, and before we get into spoilers, and I can't help but think this while watching this, would this be a better TV show? Like what do you guys think? Like, would you get more political intrigue and stuff like that? I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think more time with this type of story and this type of world just seems like it would be better,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I oh, go on.
That's it. Go ahead.
I agree in theory, but if they can stick the landing on season 2, and then we get the Bene Gesserit, is that what they're called? The
Bene Jesuits, I think.
whatever. Yeah, well, whatever. The witch ladies show and all that. I think by the end of it, there'll be plenty of time for world building and everything. I wouldn't want to mess up this movie's pacing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that said, when it's all like when part 2's there and everything, like I wouldn't mind director's cuts. You know what I mean? Like with like 15 minutes extra, Oscar Isaac talking about House Atreus and all that stuff. Because I don't know, but the movie just dishes it out in such a digestible way that I don't know. I wouldn't want to ruin the accomplishment of
Of the movie.
of what they did.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
as
makes sense.
someone who's never seen the other Dune or read the book, there's
Yeah, exactly.
not stuff that I think that felt untouched on, and maybe that's because there's a second movie coming, but what it does leave me wanting more of is just what happens next, not necessarily
what just happened.
I didn't understand this as fully as I want to, or like this. They could have gone into this more. I don't really have that feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you had asked me before like the movie came out, I would be like a TV show because it's a giant book. But I think after having watched the movie, I'm happy with what we got. And
yeah, it's not like whenever I finished The Many Saints of Newark and I was like, I wish this was a show.
yeah.
I also think that the worms, the Shai-Hulud, were pretty effective. You know? And I think for me, growing up in the time that I did, things like Tremors and Beetlejuice come to mind when I hear about sandworms.
Oh man, so many things come to mind. Like sandworms are used so much in all kinds of sci-fi.
I guess so, yeah. But I feel like most prominently, at least for me, I was like Tremors and Beetlejuice, and those are kind of silly and fun, and so I was just curious how the sandworms would be, in this, and I thought they were actually pretty terrifying.
Yeah, they look really like. I remember whenever the trailer came out, people were kind of making fun of them. They were like, they look like wieners or whatever. But I don't know. I thought they looked really organic. Like, yeah, I believe this creature would exist.
Yeah,
like all the teeth and just one gigantic mouth.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad they cut away from the scene when he's like, "All right, Mom." Oh wait, I'll just wait for spoilers for that one.
Yeah, should we
get
go?
into spoilers now? Then.
Yeah, let's just do that. Let's just get into spoilers.
Okay, let's go.
No, I guess Rosebud is just a piece in a jigsaw puzzle.
Any orange cigarettes you got up there? I'll tell you all about it.
Things are going to start happening to me now.
And here we go.
Okay, so what I was going to say before. I liked the scene whenever he's like, Rebecca Ferguson, Mom, walk like me. And he has to like walk all goofy with like his flailing his legs about so he doesn't alert the worms of where they're at.
Yeah.
I liked that they cut away so we didn't have to watch them walk down that entire sand dune.
I wanted to see that
goofy.
more. I was actually like really annoyed for part of the movie because I think they're just walking around on the sand. I thought we had this whole scene where they have to walk in a funny pattern, and then for most of the movie they just don't, except for that one scene.
I thought about it. I thought about that at the end whenever they finally get accepted into the
Freeman.
I'm not the what
Freeman.
With the Freeman tribe or whatever, and they're all like, look out there in the distance, and that one dude's like riding a sandworm, but it's like they're just walking in a straight line. They of all people should know that they got to walk all goofy.
I thought it was like
wind.
special areas. Like this is the worms area, so we have to walk.
They have
funny
their territory,
here.
and I think they were on more rocky terrain, and I think it's when you're on straight up.
Yeah,
sand.
that's how I justified it to myself later on. But I remember at the time I was like, what? But anyway,
I thought about it through the whole movie. I was like, where's this walk at? Come on.
If they should have just
You set
made
it up.
them all do the walk through the whole movie.
like no one
everybody
walks
just does
normal
it.
the whole fucking franchise.
That'd be incredible. Then you could turn it into a musical. Like we have cuts where people put over like Singing in the Rain or something.
Yeah, so I'll tell you what, whenever I realized, I was like, this movie rules. It was whenever they were on the plane, they're like, we're just going to drop them in the desert and let the sandworms eat them. And then Timothy Chalamet's trying to bust out the voice. And I was like, there it was, that foreshadowing they set up at the beginning of the movie. It's paying off now. And then he's like, pull down her mask or whatever. And then once Rebecca Ferguson gets to talking, they're done for, you know?
Yeah.
It's so cool. And I totally understand where George Lucas got the Jedi mind trick now.
Yep.
He's like, you don't want to see our papers?
You don't want to see our papers.
Yeah, but much less scary in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Much more calm. Yeah, he got that, and
Spice,
the spice thing.
Galactic Emperor.
The Empire and stuff. Yeah,
Messiah
Jabba,
hero.
I
Desert
think,
Planet.
Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah.
The
Desert
this
Planet.
guy.
Yeah. Pretty much all of it.
Yeah, but he added fun, right?
He added
That's
lightsabers.
He made it fun.
So we watched. We talked about Foundation, and there's the shields that are both in Foundation and in this, like the personal shields.
Oh,
I
yeah.
really liked the shield use in this. They haven't really gotten a lot of like combat usage out of the shields in Foundation yet, but it was really cool
Yeah,
to see.
I've only seen episode 3, and I don't even remember shields.
Oh, it comes in more.
It might not have happened yet in Foundation. I can't remember.
Spoiler alert.
I like the
guess.
dragonfly ships.
Oh yeah, the dragonfly ships. But the way that they would go red, and you could kind of tell that somebody was dead just from a distance, you know, like when they're fighting and stuff. I thought that was a really good visual thing that the shields added on top of like knowing that, you know, like they're protected and stuff.
Yeah. So explain the shields, because I know we had like the one quick scene when
With Brolin.
Timothy Chalamet turns it
You
on.
got to
when
go
he's fighting
slow
Josh
to
Brolin.
penetrate them.
You have to go slow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well then, yeah. So that's the exact same as Foundation, then,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Yeah. I was like, this is
That confused me because when they were fighting, they didn't seem like they were going slow, but it was still turning red, and that's when I thought I didn't understand.
Well, that's why shooting them doesn't appear to be effective, and that's why everyone has blades. Right?
Yeah,
'Cause you
but
can't
I thought the blade, like a high impact, quickly swung blade, seemed to make it blue initially.
Well, Timothy Chalamet, he shows it because remember he like taps his hand twice really fast, and then like the third time he slows down just a little bit, still enough to kill someone if you're stabbing them,
Yeah.
but you got to do it like more deliberately. That's what you
Yeah.
know, and then because the third time he hit it, he slowed down and it was able to penetrate and go red.
Okay. Alrighty then.
Also, I think one thing that was just like visually like really stunning to me was how creepy Stellan Skarsgård was floating around above all his troops.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just like this nasty, scary, I don't know,
I like when they
witch
find
man
him
or something.
hiding out on the ceiling. I thought that was really effective.
Yeah. I also I couldn't help but think of Apocalypse Now. Like I feel like they were pulling direct shots.
Yeah, well, like he rubs his head when he's all wet, like Marlon Brando does.
Yeah, and like the water or whatever. I can't remember what it was. If it was like water or like oily stuff. I may be getting it mixed
He was
up
like
with
in
the
a
scene where he's in the
sauna.
big tub.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like all sweaty. Yeah.
Yeah, there's like the first time you see him, he's like in this like weird sauna thing, and he's like rubs his head the same way Colonel Kurtz does.
Yeah, I think that's a
Isn't-
direct choice.
Yeah,
Yeah. I thought there's another scene where isn't he eating something in another scene
I mean, probably he's
when
really
he
fat.
talks
in
to
a way like peeling a fruit or something.
yeah, he's doing something in one scene. He's eating.
That was really similar as well.
Yeah.
So
I don't know where Dune goes at all, but one thing that I thought was really cool, and I'm hoping it kind of goes into like a darker direction, but you know, I'll keep my expectations manageable, I suppose. But like at the beginning, I believe Zendaya's character says something along the lines of like, "Who will my next oppressor be?" As House Hannikin or whatever their name is, Hannikin, I believe. They're like leaving
Harkonnen.
Okay, yeah. What's the name of the planet called? Ikar.
I keep wanting to say Achilles, but that is not right.
It's not Atreides. That's the Timothy
Yeah,
Chalamet's
that's the
house,
last
right?
name.
Yeah. I don't know what the
gosh.
name of the planet is.
I knew it like earlier today. Anyway, whenever like they're leaving Planet Dune and Timothy Chalamet is dreaming about Zendaya, and she's like, "Who will my next oppressor be?" And then it immediately cuts to him,
Yes. Yeah.
and I'm like, That got my mind wondering. You know what I mean? Like, is this going to be a typical like hero story, or is it going to be a little bit grayer than that? You know?
Yeah.
And then later, whenever he's like tripping on spice in the tent with Rebecca Ferguson, he's like, "A war in my name." Like, I couldn't understand a lot of what he was saying because he was mumbling and drooling. But like,
yeah.
but I did catch that he wants a war in his name, and I was like, I don't know if this dude is good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the discourse
that's
around
what
this
he was
movie.
seeing.
Oh, go ahead.
I thought that's what he was seeing more than what he was wanting.
I thought it was like, yeah, I mean, it may be what he's seeing, but I feel like what he's seeing is what he is going to try to accomplish. But I may be wrong.
Yeah. From my understanding, he doesn't necessarily see one future. He sees all the different paths of the future. Like,
Yeah, he's a special guy.
and then some of the discourse around this movie has been about like the white savior complex. You know, Timothy Chalamet is going to save all these, you know, indigenous people and stuff. But everybody that I like has talked about that has like, he's like that's what Dune is about, is examining that type of thing. And so, like, we'll see it turns it on its head. So that's what I'm hoping for from the second one as well, is like an examination of this white savior complex and stuff like that.
Well, I mean, they definitely kind of called attention to that in the beginning, in the earlier parts of the movie, whenever Javier Bardem, like, no one, like, who's like a native on this planet seems to give two craps, like, who's ruling it. Oscar Isaac's like, I'm going to be a noble, good leader. And they're like, cool, whatever. You know, like, you guys come and go.
I did really like that scene with Javier Bardem when he walks in and spits on the ground and everybody gets upset and then they're like, their eyes off.
And then I didn't like when everyone else spit too, because I was like, oh, this is nasty.
Yeah, then it just got gross.
I was like, I hate spit.
Yeah, Arrakis is the name of the planet, by the way.
That's it. I was going to call it Icarus, but I was like, nope, that's not it.
No, that's close. But yeah, I think I'm sad that Oscar Isaac died, because he did end up, at least, you know, through the movie, he had not yet been corrupted or anything like that. He was still trying to stick to his word and do all the honorable thing and that sort of stuff. So I was sad that he died.
Yeah, like the whole really thrilling scene whenever, like, they're going to try to get all the spice miners off that thing before the worm gets there. He was so, like, noble and heroic, and I was like, this guy's good.
Like, even the spice miners were like, just leave us. The spice is more important than our lives. And he's like, no, it's not.
Yeah, he's like, not on my watch.
Yeah. I think, you know, it's a bit inevitable that when you have a story of, like, a reluctant heir to a throne, that the current ruler has to die and he has to step up, you know? But it didn't feel very textbook to me. I was still kind of surprised, you know?
I was surprised, at how it all unfolded. It was upsetting, you know? And did Oscar Isaac know it was coming? Because he was like, I wish we'd have had more time. And I was like, what's he talking about? And then, like, 2 scenes later, everyone's dying. So
I thought he was just feeling the inevitability of their situation, because it felt impossible. And I think he was realizing that it is impossible.
They were sent there to fail?
Yeah. Because they were. And I think no matter what they did, they were screwed. And I think he knew that at that point. But whether he knew that they were deliberately set up to fail by the government, or I think at the time he thought that they were, you know, the Harkonnen people left it in such disarray just to mess with them.
Well, and basically, I think Rebecca Ferguson even says it, like, oh, so the Emperor chose a side. And earlier they said that, like, they felt threatened because they hear whispers. Is that because House Atreus was just too awesome and the Emperor was like, I don't like all the goodwill that the people have towards them? Is that the impression you guys got?
Yeah, he pitted these two. Both. It seems like both of those houses got a little too big for their britches, so he brought them both down a couple of notches, and then gave Harkonnen, like, the upper hand to destroy Oscar Isaac.
Yeah, that's what happened. I was just trying to figure out kind of, like, the exact reason, but we may still yet find out that in part 2.
Oh, yeah, I'd like to see more about the Emperor.
I'm sure he'll be in part 2. But anyone have anything else?
I thought the end fight scene was good. You know?
Yeah.
I was surprised by the way that turned out as well, because, and I guess this goes with what you were saying, Chris, that it seems like he has a vision of possible futures, because the guy that he ended up fighting and killing, that was the guy that he was talking to in his visions, right? That was like, he seemed to be really friendly with.
I thought so. I thought I messed up and I was confused, but I think I thought the same thing. Yeah.
So it felt like that particular step went against his premonitions.
Yeah, and also it sets up that Zendaya might stab him in the tummy, or kiss him, or both. So we'll have to see where that goes.
It's just a typical Wednesday night.
Yeah. Is the mom is pregnant, right? Rebecca Ferguson?
Yes.
She's pregnant?
Yeah.
I do know that in the David Lynch Dune, he gets a sister. That's
ooh la la.
Oh. Spoiler alert, except that we knew she was pregnant already, so not really. And we're in spoiler section, so.
Yeah. Question. And I didn't catch this, but I may have just like looked away or just missed it or something. But did we see what happens to Josh Brolin?
No,
I don't think so.
That I can think of. I don't remember seeing him die. I remember him seeing him go into battle and fighting some people, but we cut away.
Right.
And I don't think we ever come back. So he could still be running around.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll see him in part 2 if we didn't see his demise here.
Yeah, he's too important of a character.
Yeah, agreed.
To kill off screen.
Felt bad for the doctor, but also, what are you going to do?
Yeah. That was a tough situation.
Yeah. Which I don't know that I would have made the same decision, because clearly that man is a bad guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's going to kill your wife
that
anyways,
man looks like
right?
he's not a bad guy.
Yeah.
So why believe him?
So Justin, you want to read this book. Are you going to read this in between? Or are you going to wait for the second one to come out?
He's got 2 years.
Yeah. I mean, are you going to wait? Or do you want to? Are you going to go ahead and read the book?
I think that I'm going to go ahead and read the book.
Yeah.
You know, if it, strikes whenever I'm looking for a new book to start, because I've had it for a while. Sometimes you got to wait for that spark to be like, that's the book I'm reading next.
Right.
That's the one.
Yeah. So I won't intentionally not read it because of the second movie. I think I just really didn't want to know anything going into this first film. And now I know enough that I feel like I can read and see what the book does and not feel like it's, spoiling some of the fun of 2, because now I already know. I already know enough that I can do it. And if it differs, that's fine too. That'll just be surprising. And if it doesn't, I can, maybe I'll have more of the gaps filled in and know more,
Makes sense. I think I actually have it on audio. I might listen to it, but who knows?
Yeah. When you listen to an audiobook, do you ever say that you read the book, or do you say I listened to the book when people ask you?
I always say, like, I read it. I mean, listened, like.
You do both?
Yeah. Like, I read it.
Cover
Well, technically I listened, but,
Okay. That's a good one.
I spend a lot of time in the car, so I listen to a lot of books that I haven't read. All the Expanse books I've listened to, I haven't read them. So,
yeah, don't read in the car while you're out driving.
I tried it once, did not end well.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, I don't have anything else on this. I'm sure there's more thoughts and themes to be rounded out in the next one that would, necessitate deeper discussion, but this one is what it is.
Yeah, we are talking about half of a story, so I think we've done all that we can.
Mm-hmm. Well, cool. So with that, this episode is over, right?
I believe it is, yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, listener, for listening. Thank you, Mike and Chris, for talking to me about Dune and No Time to Die.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
And then, of course, thanks as always to Jake Wagner-Russell for doing our intro and outro music. If you want to hear more of his music, you can do so at soundcloud.com/bopscotch.
Stay tuned to this feed. Our next episode will be Last Night in Soho.
Yay.
Yeah.
Are we going to do French Dispatch in its own episode, or will we be talking about that next week too? Like in the News on the March?
Depends on if we can watch both movies or not.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be able to see French Dispatch before then, because I don't know if a theater around me will be playing it.
Okay. Well, if it takes out a while, longer, then we should do our own episode on it.
Yeah.
Like its own full-length discussion episode.
Okay. I'm down.
Great.
All right, then.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for listening, guys. We will see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.